So I wanted to start a new type of video on my channel, and we're going to start off with something really special. I have been reading a lot of short fiction, and I want to share that short fiction. It's not as easy to do unless I read an entire anthology and then, talk about it after the fact, but I've been chipping away at all of John D. MacDonald's short fiction. I'm constantly reading other short fiction from the Pulps and from other places. There's not a good format for it, and so you are watching the very first Short Fiction Saturday. And to start off my new Short Fiction Saturday series, we are going to talk about a book that I was gifted. I didn't ask for this. I got an email from Stephen Hafner at Hafner Press saying, "Hey, I figured out which Joseph you were in the orders for the John the Balladeer books, and I want to send you a gift." And I was like, okay, well, I really appreciate it. And so there was something already on the way. So I'm not getting paid to talk about this or anything. He just sent me a book. And let's go right into what it is. It is the Vampire Stories of Robert Bloch. I had never read Robert Bloch before getting this book. It took me a little while to get this video out because I wanted to read some of the stories in here, and I also wanted to learn more about Robert Bloch. Robert Bloch is known for writing a lot of things, but most of that is horror related. He wrote the novel Psycho that all the movies are based on. I haven't read that. I've only read some of his short fiction, but man, is his short fiction good. Now, the format of this is usually going to be somewhere between 3 and 5 short stories, but I'm going to talk about 7 Robert Bloch stories today, and it's not always going to be the same author for all the short fiction, but I can guarantee, other than this one, there will always be a John D. MacDonald short story. And as I talk about the stories, I'm going to talk about where they were originally published. And if I can find like an internet archive or something that has the stories, I'll try to pin it in the top comment. But let's get right into reading Robert Bloch. The first thing I read from him was The Beasts of Barsac in Weird Tales, July 1944. It is a really good mad scientist story. It's like this twisted tale about a man taking his experiments to extremes while a friend who is like kind of mooching off him plots to do something about it. It's like a little mix of like jealousy and fear of what he's doing. It's really good. Now, the best story I've read so far from Robert Bloch is Mannikins of Horror, which is from Weird Tales, December 1939. It is about this doctor who has been committed to an insane asylum. And one of the ways he starts coping is he becomes obsessed with human anatomy. And first he's studying anatomy books, and then he's shaping humans out of clay, like every little detail down to like the nerve endings and stuff with like these micro tools. And it's just really strange, and it gets really creepy really fast. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. And the other non-vampire Robert Bloch story I read was Almost Human from Fantastic Adventures, July 1943. And it is a really good story about this robot who is given sapience and has like the mind of a child. Well, someone corrupts the youth that is the robot child, and bad things happen. It's a really good story. With those kind of not rushed out of the way, I just wanted to talk about them quick because this format of video is like short fiction, so hopefully it's a short video. The Vampire Stories of Robert Bloch is really cool. You've got awesome art. It's a great hardcover. You can get it at Hafner Press. I think it's the newest book that's out. At least it was as of a month and a half ago. It's got little bats for the number pages, and you've got really cool art throughout the book. All the artwork is by Gahan Wilson. So that's really cool. I really like the art style. And another really good thing, because we're all obsessed collectors around here, he has a list of all the books published by Robert Bloch in the front, which is just really doing a service to people. And the other great thing is if you go to the back in the acknowledgments, he lists the original publishing of the stories. And this is just one really well put together book. So I haven't read all of the vampire stories yet. When it comes to short fiction, I don't like bum rushing through an entire book of an author's work. They tend to bleed together. It's nice to read a story and then kind of let it breathe and just go back to it whenever I'm feeling it. So I'm just going to talk about the 4 that I have read, and so far they have been like good to very good, and it's been really fun to read. I've always liked vampire stories. I had never read Robert Bloch until I got this book, and it is such a treat to be introduced to another fantastic author from the Pulp era. So let's go into the 4 stories I've read so far. The first one is Death is a Vampire, which is from Thrilling Mystery 1944 fall issue. It's an interesting whodunit where this, I think he's a journalist, It's been a little bit since I read it. He shows up, and this reclusive old man, he finds him dead in his house. It's really weird because it looks like he was killed by a vampire. He thinks he saw a vampire. He runs back to town from, a couple miles away. He goes to the cops and he's like, there was a vampire. It killed the reclusive old man. And the cop's like, bro, calm down. And it just goes from there. It's really interesting. One of the cool things that Robert Bloch does that I adore in a lot of pulp stories is the twist endings that you don't see coming. Like, if you go back, you can kind of see it. Like, I did that in the pulp inspired story I wrote. I really like when you finish the story and you're like, whoa, that didn't end the way I expected. And this is a good example of that. I had a really good time with it. It doesn't feel old so much as it feels like just a refined pulp story that is a lot of fun. And the same goes for The Skull of the Marquis de Sade, which is from Weird Tales, September 1945. So there's this collector, and some guy shows up and is like, hey, I have like the skull of skulls to sell to you. This is the skull of the Marquis de Sade, and you hear about some of the messed up stuff he did. You ever want something stranger than fiction, go look up the stuff that the Marquis de Sade allegedly did. It gets into that a little, and then the guy feels really unsettled, and he ends up getting the skull and then has these weird dreams and like crazy stuff's happening, and he wants to make sure that he didn't get ripped off. So he goes to talk to another friend about the skull, and the guy is like, yep, pretty sure that's real. Get it out of my face. I don't want it. I used to own it. Go away. As you progress through the story, you start to find out why he's glad that he no longer owns the skull. It's just a good short little story with an awesome twist. Like the vibes are perfect in it. It's just a really good read. What I've noticed so far is these stories are vampire-ish. I haven't ran into one that's straight up like putting stakes in their hearts, wearing garlic around your neck, stuff like that. They're very vampire adjacent. Some of them are stories that are like, this has to be a vampire. This is 100% a vampire. And then it's like, maybe not. This next one's not like that. This one is hinting heavily at a vampire of some kind, and that is The Man Who Collected Poe, which was originally published in Famous Fantastic Mysteries, October 1951. Now remember, you can get all of these in the Vampire Stories of Robert Bloch if you want just a nice complete set and a beautiful hardcover, and you don't have to do things like I do and dig through the internet for ridiculous amounts of time to like tick little things off your Excel spreadsheet. In The Man Who Collected Poe, a fan of Poe is introduced to someone who has an obscene amount of Edgar Allan Poe ephemera, like letters from his relatives, pamphlets he handed out when he was first starting to write, like really hyper niche stuff that no one owned. And the more you explore all of this Poe stuff, the more you start to suspect there's a lot going on here. This character, how did he get all this stuff? How did this dude who looks to be about 45 end up with stuff from 130 years ago? Like, what is happening? How did he collect this stuff? It feels like he was there to collect it when it was new. So it's a really good, very kind of subtly creepy story. It's more so an exploration of Poe's work. And so if you are a big Edgar Allan Poe fan, you will really enjoy this story. I think it rewards you for being experienced with Poe's work. Even some of the way it is written kind of gives off Poe vibes. And a quick aside, The Cask of Amontillado is my favorite Poe story by a wide margin. I love it. It's demented. It's great. But back to Robert Bloch. The last one I read, because like I said, I've been taking my time. I've only gotten through 4 of them. There are 28 stories in it, so I got a lot to go. It's wonderful. But the last one I read was The Bogeyman Will Get You from March 1946 Weird Tales. This one's about a teenage girl who is on vacation with her parents in this like lakeside town, and they've got a very interesting neighbor that she's starting to develop a crush on. He's very mysterious, erudite, well-educated guy, and the more she tries to get close to him, the more she starts to suspect there's a lot going on behind the scenes with him. She starts digging, and it never goes well when you start digging for information about a person that is intentionally mysterious. This is one of those with a really cool twist. I won't go any further because I don't want to spoil it. The story is a ton of fun. Like, out of all the vampire stories, it's my favorite so far. I'm just shocked at how much I enjoy Robert Bloch. I shouldn't be. It's right up my alley. I like the creepy stuff. I like his story writing style. So if someone had told me, hey, this guy that's been in weird tales a bunch and thrilling mystery and all these other things. It should be obvious by now that I would like his writing, but I didn't know. And Stephen Hafner really did me a solid by giving me a copy of this book as like a catalyst for getting into Robert Bloch. So when it comes to Hafner Press, my experience has been I ordered the 2-book collection for John the Balladeer, and it showed up about a year later, and it's gorgeous and I love it. And this one he just sent to me as a gift, very generous. I'm really enjoying it. I am going to be buying more from Hafner Press. He's got a bunch of Frederick Brown stuff I really want. He has the Ed and Ambrose Hunter series, and I need them real bad. Not to mention, I love Frederick Brown's short fiction, especially his crime fiction, and he's got collections of those. So yes, all this stuff can be sourced from Pulp archives online, but it's really hard to compete with like a complete collection that's been curated by someone who really cares about the author and getting his works out there. You have forewords and introductions and then afterwards that are always written by someone that loves the subject that the book covers. So I think that the Hafner Press stuff is just like a step above your regular published anthologies, because people crap out anthologies from these pulps all the time and sell them on like Amazon as, print to order stuff. And I mean, whatever. It's nice that they're there, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of love behind them in the same way you get with Hafner Press stuff. If you want to lose money, start publishing books, because there's no way to make it really profitable. These are labors of love. It's like my dream to be able to do something like that. I would love to lose money publishing books that people want and that I want. So maybe someday I'll get to do that. But until then, I'm going to have to get stuff from like Hafner Press and other small publishers. That's all. I hope that some of you will check out Robert Bloch. It was really fun to read his stuff. And I think a lot of people that like a lot of the same things I do will really enjoy the vampire stories from him and some of his other stuff. I hope that this short fiction Saturday is the first of many, because I like sharing the short fiction I've read. I think this will be the easiest way to do it. Will I do one every Saturday? No. I think the only way I could do that is by really shoving a lot of John D. MacDonald down your throat. I don't know if you want that. Let me know if you do. I will make dedicated short fiction Saturdays to John D. MacDonald, where I'm like, you need to check this out, or this stinks, because I have read almost 80 of his 420 short stories that he had published throughout his life. And the first year or so are real stinkers. I'm reading them in publication order, and you can really tell when he started becoming a better writer. You can also tell when one of his early stories got published a couple of years after he'd written it, because boy, do those stories suck. Don't even get me started on Shock magazine, which is like this pulp that only had 3 issues. Every story in it I've read has been bad. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure that they started the magazine. They're going to be like, we're making the edgy crime magazine, and then couldn't get good stories or thought these stories were good. I don't know. That has nothing to do with this. So this was the first Short Fiction Saturday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.